Hey everyone, this is Jordan Romano, and welcome to the Phillies Show.
Ruben Amaro Jr., Jim Salisbury, Todd Zolecki. How is everybody doing? The Philly Show, brought to you by the Foul Territory Network. It's Monday morning, December 23rd, 2024. Guys, how are we doing?
Very well.
Doing great, Todd. Doing wonderfully well. Thank you, sir.
We haven't chatted in a while. The last time we chatted was our last show was Thursday, and the whole theme of the show was what in the hell is going on with the Phillies? These guys ever going to do anything else? What are they going to just go Jordan Romano and that's it? And then word broke Thursday night that they had agreed to a 1-year, $10 million deal with outfielder Max Kepler. And then Dave Dombrowski on Friday has a little Zoom call with some reporters. It says, yeah, we're kind of out of the free agent market on the impactful type of offensive player. At this point, we're kind of looking for maybe a number 5 starter type, maybe a guy that can go from the rotation to the bullpen. Boom, Sunday morning, they trade for Jesús Luzardo from the Marlins for Staryln, Caba, and Emaarion Boyd, 2 of their top prospects. Well, Caba is certainly one of their top prospects. So they made 2 moves in the span of about 72 hours and got a lot of reaction. What was your first reaction with, just both moves, I guess, or do you want to start with Kepler?
Well, I mean, both moves, I think there's a common theme. Really all 3 moves that they've made in the last 2 weeks, Romano, Kepler, and now Jesús Luzardo. All 3 are bounce back type of guys. 2 of them are coming off surgery. Luzardo was coming off a down year where he dealt with some elbow and some back problems. But, I'm sure they've vetted these guys very thoroughly medically. Yeah. And, if all 3 of them bounce back, they're really good upside. They have good upside potential, all of them. Kepler's been a good major league player. Romano has been an all-star closer, and Jesús Luzardo has, top of the rotation stuff when he's healthy. So if Luzardo was healthy, what they've done is put together a 1 through 5 in the starting rotation. It's probably as good as anybody's in baseball. There's talent there, there's firepower there, there's experience there. They need him to be healthy, need Ranger to be healthy. You come at people with 3 lefties and 2 really, really good workhorse type right-handers at the top of rotation. Boy, I think the last 2 weeks have been potentially really good for this team. May have gotten a closer. They may have gotten a pretty good power bat in the corner in Kepler, and 2 years of control on Jesús Luzardo. If he's healthy, he's an awfully good one. So, we were kind of fretting the inaction, but they've seemed to have put together some good moves here that I think can complement a really strong nucleus. I still stick by what I say, that if they're going to go far and they're going to win this division again and have a great October, it's going to be with the players that were already here. But I like the potential of these 3 moves.
And not the super sexy move on Kepler. I've seen Kepler for a long time. When I was coaching Boston, saw him sort of break in and really liked his ability then. He grew into a very good major league player. Did not have a great year last year, had some real issues. Had that hernia injury, a sports hernia type injury or whatever they're calling it, core injury, that is supposed to be fine. Really good ball player, good defender. Obviously, he's played right field pretty much his whole career, has played some left field in the minor leagues, was just a good, solid defender. I think there shouldn't be a problem with him switching over to left field. I think they want to stay with Castellanos, who's actually really improved defensively out there in right, and trying to teach an old horse or old dog new tricks there and left will be tougher for him. So I think that defensively he's out. He's very, very good. But I know people want the offense. And when this guy's good, he's pretty darn good. He's a good, solid, major league, everyday player. He just has to be healthy. Now, is he – do you expect, 30 home runs and 100 RBIs and all that kind of business? No. But I think it's a good, solid move. And I think it also gives some opportunities perhaps for another guy, right-handed bat, maybe a Weston Wilson to kind of get some opportunities to play in left field. He's a good athlete. Maybe it's a platoon-ish type of situation. Although Dave Dombrowski, I think at the outset, is probably going to give him an opportunity to play. Max Kepler an opportunity to play pretty much every day. Again, not the super sexy move, but sometimes you get guys on one-year deals like this because of the issues that he had with his body. It was more of an injury issue. The Luzardo thing, man, I think is outstanding. I love, as you guys know, love starting pitching. And I agree with you, Jim. This kid, if he's healthy, again, it's not a huge if, because I think they probably dotted their I's and crossed their T's on the medical stuff. But if he is indeed healthy, this guy does have top of the rotation stuff. He can be a 2. He can be a 2 or 3 at least. And the makeup, I had an opportunity to talk to my half-brother, Luis Emaarion, who knows the kid well. He's a Venezuelan kid. He's part of that Águilas del Zulia club in Maracaibo. He has not pitched there for a while, but he knows him well. And he said the makeup is off the charts. This guy is a bulldog, man. He wants the baseball. I love guys like this. I love guys who want the baseball and want to put it on the line. And it seems like he is certainly one of those guys. I like the way he competes, and I like his toughness. He's sort of perfect for Philadelphia. Now, you never know how he's going to respond to being there, but he doesn't have to be the man.
No.
He just be one of the good ones. And that's the beauty of the depth of this rotation.
Same thing on Kepler. They're going to bat Kepler maybe 7th. I think,
yeah.
It's all about expectation. If you're getting Max Kepler to hit 4, you're like, But if you get, hitting the bottom near the bottom third of the order, you're getting Luzardo to pitch 4 or 5. Pretty good acquisitions, no, Todd?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact, we kind of talked about this when the things didn't seem to be happening for Alec Boehm, and maybe they weren't going to make a trade. And you knew when they didn't go after Soto, and the way that Dombrowski was talking, they weren't going to go after necessarily Teoscar Hernandez. They weren't going to get somebody maybe like that. And you're sitting there going, what are they possibly going to do? So, I like the fact that they made a trade to improve his strength. You can't get maybe you can't get the lineup guy you want. You load up on the rotation. I really do like that idea. And it also protects you because right now they were going to go in with Taijuan Walker, Tyler Phillips, some of these younger guys. Maybe they signed a Spencer. Maybe they would have signed a Spencer Turnbull type of guy. So now you're obviously you're deeper. You're better protected if there's an injury. If one of these other guys goes down, you're not as thin. You don't all of a sudden go down to what they were last season when Ranger was down, which is like Nola, Sanchez, and Wheeler, and kind of like just trying to figure out how the heck you're going to get through those other 2 days. So I do like that. One thing I wanted to get you guys' opinion on. So when word started to break on Thursday night that the Phillies had this agreement with an outfielder, my mind immediately went to right-handed bat. And I'm going, okay, so now I'm going one-year deal, right-handed bat. So now I'm looking through all the available free agents. And I'm trying to figure out who's the right-handed bat that they signed, because they went out and they got Austin Hayes in July, and they traded Sir Anthony Dominguez to get it. And then they non-tendered Austin Hayes in November. And I'm going, okay, well, they want to get a right-handed bat, right? And now it's a left-handed bat. Do you guys have any issues or concerns about having another left-handed hitter in the lineup? Or does that not matter if he's healthy?
Well, like I said, I think he's going to hit 7. So he could conceivably have a couple right-handed bats in front of him and a right-handed bat behind him.
Yeah.
If it was a pure middle of the order guy, I might be a little more concerned. But, it's like I've had this conversation with people, baseball people over the years, when we talk about, hey, they don't have a left-hander in the rotation. Well, would you rather have a mediocre left-hander or a really good right-hander, So this guy has some upside. He did hit lefties okay last year. There's been times in his career where he hasn't. But I think healthy and in this ballpark, I think he can be a run producer in this lineup, especially in the bottom third. It's not a perfect solution. You'd like a little more right-handed balance. But, he's got 9 years in the big leagues. He's had some really good seasons.
Right.
I'd rather take my chance on a guy you think that has some upside from the left side than a guy that, you're only so-so on from the right side.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I would love to have had a right-handed bat and someone like a Bregman or someone like that. Not a ton of swing and miss, not a ton of strikeouts. I mean, that's what sort of we were looking for, just because we've had really struggled with that. The Phillies had really struggled with that, and especially in the latter part of the season and in the playoffs with swing decisions. But that's going to have to come internally. Mm-hmm. They're going to have to be better at making those adjustments internally, whether it's Trey Turner making sure that he swings at strikes and not breaking pitches off the plate. Same thing with Castellanos, a whole bunch of guys. I mean, Marsh is going to have to cut down his strikeouts. Stott, hopefully he's healthy. I mean, internally they have to get better.
Yeah.
And I think that they have the ability to get better. I really do. And I think this also lengthens out the lineup. If the guy can hit, the guy can hit. Whether it's righties or lefties, it's not like a Jock Peterson, and he has absolutely no chance against a left-hander. It's not the same type of hitter. He's had some success against left-handed, and you may see him against tough left-handers get a breather with somebody else in the lineup.
And that's all right. That's happened for decades. I remember
for centuries.
Yeah, I remember. As a kid, I was a Red Sox fan. We've made that clear. I was a Carl Yastrzemski fan. I think we've made that clear. But whenever Yastrzemski went into Tiger Stadium and Frank Tanana was on the mound, he'd always have a little rib cage. little rib cage. And the next night he'd be fine. So,
right.
You protect him. Remember the year Tito sat Bobby Abreu on opening day against Randy Johnson, Ruben? Sometimes you got to protect these lefties against really good lefties.
Really
nothing wrong with that. That's why you have a bench. That's why you're going to have a Weston Wilson or whoever else is on your bench. And it doesn't have to be a pure platoon, but you can protect a guy here and there.
Yeah, I mean, it does make it a very lefty-heavy lineup, but I'd rather have a lefty-heavy lineup than a righty-heavy lineup, to be honest with you. So
yeah, because you're going
to obviously you're going to face more righties and lefties. Mm-hmm. I know we faced an inordinate number of left-handers last year. I don't know if we'll have that same situation this year in the NL East, but sometimes it's around the margins. Sometimes if you can improve around the margins a little bit, it can take you to a different space. I think the other thing to think about, and I know this is way down the road, but if they get to the playoffs, you start giving yourself some options. Now you got 5 guys, if they're healthy, you have 5 guys you can throw in the rotation. Then you can slide a guy like Ranger into the bullpen. You can slide a guy like Luzardo maybe in the bullpen. You can slide a big arm back there in a 3-5 game series, something like that, where it gives you even more depth in that bullpen. A lot of things can happen from now until that point. That said, it does make you dream a little bit about, having some depth there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so go ahead, Jim.
Well, we don't think like, and I asked this to you guys because Todd, you covered it. Ruben, you sort of were in the pilot's chair. We don't think like this is like they get Doc Halladay and they pedal Cliff Lee. We don't think they get Jesus Luzardo and they're going to pedal Ranger, do we?
Man, I personally do not. And I guess the reason why I don't is just going off of what Dave said in October, which is when Ranger went down, we were really, really thin in the rotation. We were thin in the rotation, and he put a lot of emphasis on this is why we struggled down the half, because everybody's going, well, he only played 500 baseball. It's like, well, look who we had in the 4 and 5 spots the second half of the season. So for that reason, I think that he will keep those guys, especially with Luzardo having an injury history, with Ranger having an injury history. I mean, he hasn't been able to stay healthy really much of his career. And you don't want to say this out loud, I guess, but I'm going to say it. Wheeler and Nola have been super healthy their entire careers, or most of their careers, so certainly with the Phillies at least. And so do you want to trade somebody and then all of a sudden something crazy happens and, now you're going, oh my gosh, why did we trade Ranger Suarez? Or Luzardo has a hiccup or the back flares back up again. And now you're going, oh my gosh, why did we trade Ranger Suarez? We had great depth and we gave it away to make another move.
Yeah. Well, I will just say this. It was a mistake that we traded Cliff Lee then. It would be a mistake to do it with Ranger Suarez now. It's as simple as that. There's too much depth there that you've created now. You allow Andrew Painter to take his time.
Yeah.
If there's a breakdown, at the big league level and he's ready in June or July or whenever he is physically ready to go, then he can be a depth piece for him. I mean, it just does so many great things. It allows you to sort of maybe, if you want to, and you don't release him, Taijuan Walker becomes sort of a swing guy. He can, be a long guy. If the guys break down and have, a crappy first couple of innings, he can be a long guy. He's done it. We've seen him do it now, and he's willing to do it. And so it just creates a little bit more depth overall, which is something we've talked about a lot. Like, when are the Phillies going to make a move, and when are they going? Well, they made a really big move. This is a really good starting pitcher, and starting pitching means a lot.
Yeah, and I love what you brought up about Painter. I think that's big. It allows them to just take their time with Painter. I hope he doesn't feel like he has to be in a rush. I think he's going to pitch a good number of innings and be a contributor at the big league level, but it can be closer to the All-Star break when you're going to get you might get his services in the biggest games of the year, of the season, which I think is good. And I like the idea of hanging on to Ranger. I think I talked about it in the last podcast. I love that he's with Scott Boras right now. I think Scott's going to be in his ear saying, Ranger, this is the time of your life. You got to go out there and have a great year, and you're going to take care of a lot of generations of Suarez's if you do that. And the Phillies could benefit from all of that with a great 2025 as he goes on a salary drive. We know the odometer is up there on this nucleus. Wheeler, 35 next year. Nola, high mileage guy. Harper, Schwarber, Castellanos, Real Muto, all north of 30. If they're going to win one, they got to win one in the next year or two here. So Suarez really fits that window. And Luzardo with 2 years of control really fits that window. So, I liked their personnel even before the winter meetings. I like it a lot more since the winter meetings.
Yeah, the 2 years team control is so big because if Ranger does leave after next season, you already got a number. You got your number 4 guy there, and then presumably Painter in 2026 as well. So that's big. Luzardo. So we have to mention he only made 12 starts last season because of elbow tightness and a lower lumbar stress reaction, which is just a back injury. And Christina DeNicola from MLB.com, who covers the Marlins, she just randomly talked to him last week, and he says he's been thrown off the mound. Going through his normal offseason progression, throwing, running, starting to get off the mound, feeling really good with my elbow back, whole body, and just gearing up for spring training and eyeing down opening day, 100% full go. So that's, again, everybody feels great in the offseason, beginning of the offseason. So I want to mention that everybody always feels great in the offseason, usually.
You're right on mentioning it because it's an elbow. You never like to hear that.
Right.
Always concerned about elbows. Romano had an elbow cleanup. Until you see them on the mound firing in-game competition, not wintertime workouts, not even spring training. I remember watching Jeff Brantley just air it out in Clearwater. Looked like he'd be a world beater. And then, the minute the competition started, he started hurting. You got to see it in game action, but I still feel good about. I mean, they all have a little bit of red flag to them.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 of these acquisitions in the last 2 weeks, they have some red flag to them. I think that's why. They were, out there and affordable. Look, we've talked about it. The Phillies are right up against it in the payroll. Right. So there's reasons they were attracted to these guys, reasons they were out there. All 3 of them are a little bit of a flyer, but if things click for the Phillies, all 3 of them could be really good pickups.
Yeah, I mean, you sit there as an executive spring training, and all you do is sit on pins and needles, just thinking, let's just get through this freaking spring without any issues. And I think it wasn't even last year where Wheeler was behind a little bit. Was it Wheeler that somebody was
A
behind?
couple years ago, he was behind.
Maybe it was everybody was a little nervous about whether when he'd be ready to go. It was 2 years ago, but whatever. I'm just thinking, it happens, and I just think just creating the depth there with that starting rotation. You can't ever have enough starting pitching. We talk about it all the time, and this. You're right, Jim. I mean, there's going to be a little pins and needles until they're out there firing and competing. You'll be on pins and needles a little bit, but that said, it sounds like they should be ready to go.
So you guys mentioned Painter a little bit, so I'm sure fans are probably wondering because they really want to see him come up and pitch. Now, let's say best case scenario, the 5 current guys are all they're pitching great, and this team is rolling. What scenario could you see Painter come up next year? Would he still come up? Do we just say, listen, we're going to, 2026, let's just continue to bring you along slowly? Best case scenario, again, those 5 guys pitch great, and you don't really need Andrew Painter, but they've made such a big deal out of him contributing next season. Just wondering if you guys see a path for him to help out.
I do, but I do think this buys you more time with him. If everybody's healthy and performing, he can stay in the minors pitching once a week, a little bit longer. Maybe you bring him more toward mid-season or even maybe a little bit beyond. We know under Rob Thompson and Caleb Cotham, they have strategically given their guys an extra day here and there. Maybe that works for the bulk of the rotation and Painter, where you can insert him now and then. I think it would require some creativity, but boy, would it be a good problem to have if everybody were healthy and you didn't have a place to slot them in immediately. I think they could make it work.
Sure.
I think you hit the nail on the head. What a problem to have if all these guys are. I don't want to sound like Debbie Downer, but during the course of the first half of the season or some part of the season, there's going to be a pitcher who cannot make a start. Right. It's going to happen, or a couple of starts. It's just going to happen. It's the nature of the beast. Very rarely do you have that combination of like quality and health throughout the season with your starting rotation. I mean, look at some of the teams that were playoff teams. They had like the Detroit Tigers. They had like one starter.
Yeah.
And then they had like
they lost everybody.
Dodgers lost a whole slew of guys. Yeah,
right.
I mean, you're talking about it's just inevitable it's going to happen in this day and age. That said, when it's time for him to be, I'll say exactly what my dad used to say all the time. When it's time for him to be in the big leagues, he'll be in the big leagues.
So one of you guys mentioned payroll. I went to Fangraphs today to look at the Phillies 2025 projected payroll, and the payroll for luxury tax purposes right now is projected to be $304.4 million. That's with the recent additions of Romano, 8.5, Kepler 10. I think Luzardo is projected to be around 6. So that's the second highest payroll in baseball. Those cheap Phillies not going out.
Yeah, they're so cheap. Oh my God, they're cheap.
The Dodgers at 332 are number 1. The Yankees are third, 298. Mets a distant fourth, even after Juan Soto at 255. That'll probably still go up, of course. But I ran the numbers, and 304. The fourth luxury tax is 301. Every dollar spent over that, you're taxed at 110%. The Phillies right now at 304, their penalty that they're going to pay in addition to that payroll is $44.64 million in just tax penalties. So that puts their total payroll commitment to almost $350 million next season. So that kind of helps also explain why they're going on some of these flyer type guys or bounce back guys like we've talked about. They push past the fourth luxury tax, and that explains why Kepler and maybe not Teoscar Hernandez, why Luzardo and maybe not a big time free agent starting pitcher, although it did cost you Staryln, Caba and Emaarion Boyd as well. But wanted to mention those numbers.
Now, Todd, so you're the capologist.
I just hope my numbers are right.
281.
I'm definitely not the capologist.
So
You've seen that
at 281, right? At 281 million, where they're definitely going to be. Between 281 and 301 is like 92% tax.
Yeah, you're taxed at 92.5%.
And then it jumps to 110. So you're paying that 92.
Right.
And then when you get to 301, anything above that, you're paying
Yep.
110.
Yep. $1. You pay $1.10 for every dollar you spend over. Yeah. So from 241 to 261, not to get too in the weeds, from 241 to 261, they're paying 50%. From 261 to 281, they're paying 62%. From 281 to 301, 92.5%, and then 110% every dollar over 301. So, and they also, because they're over that, I think the third luxury tax, their top draft pick last year falls 10 spots in the draft. So they take that hit. They take that hit as well. So, and that's
they're being super cheap. They're being super cheap. I mean, they're just not going for it. And listen, lest we forget, folks. I mean, okay, I know that they did not win the World Series in the last 3 years. I know that they, didn't get to the promised land and get that damn trophy back. But they're in the hunt, and they're one of the best teams in baseball. And when it gets down to the tournament at the end, you just never know. What you want to do is put yourself in a position to contend every year. And if you can do that, then you got a chance to win the World Series. And with this signing and some of the moves that they made, I said I thought that they were a top 5 team before coming into the season. Right now, today, they're a top 3 team for me with the addition of Luzardo.
Who do you have ahead? Dodgers and Dodgers, Yankees,
maybe the Yankees, maybe Dodgers and Yankees.
Yeah.
But after that, man, it's who else is it but the Phillies?
There. Right.
What do you think happens with Taijuan Walker?
That's a great question.
That's a super question. I do think unless they can dump him, and I don't think that they can, I think that they're sort of hoping that he pitches really well in the spring. And it puts him in a position to maybe possibly for a team that has aspirations of being in the playoffs, maybe they can dump him, eat some of the money, eat half of it or something like that, or make him, or he gives them some depth. And hopefully he throws well enough that they can maneuver him somewhere as a long guy and a swing guy in case they have some issues. Because then if one of those starting 5 goes down, you still have him to at least start some games and pick up some innings, and you don't have to go and be tempted to go get Painter. And I think that that's an important thing. Painter's development is so important. He's so important for the longevity and long term that you just want to make sure you do right by this player. Much like the way we handled Aaron Nola, he doesn't come to the big leagues really until you really need him, and he's super ready.
But he's different than Aaron Nola because Aaron Nola didn't have an elbow surgery.
That's right. Yeah. And he didn't. And that's why you got to be even more careful with this kid.
Yeah, you got to be careful because he's coming off Tommy John. You want to, build him up the right way, get him ready the right way, because as tempting as it's going to be to get a contribution from him in 2025, his best years are going to be 26, 27, 28, and 29. Don't push the envelope too much. And Luzardo, allows you not to have to do that.
Yeah, you treat him a little bit like Cole Hamels. I mean, Cole Hamels came back from having a broken arm. We drafted him. It was a great draft by Marty and Mike Arbuckle and Marty Wahlberg. I mean, it was a tremendous draft, but there was some risk associated with it because he had a broken arm. And, so you just have to be really, really super, super careful with a talent like this because he's just too important for the longevity of the team.
Yeah.
And, you made a nice trade for Luzardo, filling a valuable role, fits your window. He's got experience. And, you still protected your Crawford, your Aiden Millers. I mean, Caba, from everything I've heard, is if he's not on that top tier, he's right there. He's like almost there. But the fact of the matter is, he's 19 years old and he's an A-ball, and there's a lot of development that has to go right for him to even contribute here. And I've covered this team for so long. I have seen probably 8 or 10 young international middle infielders that were highly, highly touted that I don't even think got to AAA. So
right.
I wish him well. I hope he's the exception. I hope he has a great career. But you can't let that hold up a deal like this.
Yeah, and I think Caba's an outstanding prospect, but he is a prospect and he's young, and I think he's good. He's got a chance to be a very good major leaguer, but physically, his physicality is not there yet. No. He still has not. The projection is that he's going to get bigger and stronger. He's not quite there yet. He's a everyday shortstop. Seems to like defensively, but in this day and age, man, you got to swing it too. And so there's, still some question as to what he becomes as far as his overall physicality.
Do we think that the Phillies might have something else up their sleeve, or do you believe when, Dave Dombrowski said the other day, we're pretty much done other than a number 5 starter type of guy, which obviously Luzardo's a lot more than just your number 5 swing type of guy, number 5 starter. But do we think that there's anything else possibly up their sleeve? I agree with both of you guys. I don't trade Ranger Suarez. I don't think they want to trade Ranger Suarez. I guess maybe for the right piece, you do end up trading him. You can't ever say never, of course. But do we think that this puts the end of the Alec Boehm rumors that maybe they deal him to improve someplace?
I'm keeping an eye on the Bregman Arenado situations when they find landing spots. Maybe something percolates with Boehm, but it just seems like everything's trending toward him returning, and I'm happy with that. I'd be totally fine with that, but I can't say never on possibly moving him. But I do take Dombrowski at face value when he says that's probably it on significant free agents, but you never know what could present itself in a trade.
Right. Yeah, but maybe what about like a reliever on a 1-year deal? Jim, I think you mentioned maybe last week, like if Carlos Estevez is hanging out there, not getting a multi-year deal, just bring maybe somebody out there. You probably don't get Tanner Scott. He's probably looking for too many years, and he probably will get multiple years if he doesn't. But maybe an Estevez type guy or somebody along those lines, you can get him on a 1-year deal, continue building that bullpen up.
1-year deal would everything I've heard. That's what they want to kind of do in their bullpen, and they're showing that with Romano and Kepler. They like those 1-year deals, where they are payroll wise. So I wouldn't rule something like that out. They probably have to have a little meeting with ownership, but for the right guy, maybe. But this could be pretty close to it.
I mean, it could be. There's a long time from now until February 12th or 13th or whatever it is when pitchers and catchers are going to report. And so I actually think that there's going to be more to come, whether it's a 6-year free agent type of a guy or someone that's going to battle for a job or somewhere in the middle of the in the middle of the bullpen, or someone who a big arm, or somebody that might take off of waiver wire or something like that. I don't think that they're completely done. I think that you're going to see something happen. I don't think it's going to be big. Is it possible? Yes, but I don't think that they're done, because just knowing Dave Dombrowski, he's not going to stop trying to improve the team. He knows that's his job. That's the job of the front office, is to always keep your eyes open. You never know what can happen. You never know where there's a razzle dazzle somewhere. Maybe there's something huge that they who knows. But I don't think that they're completely done. I just don't think that there's anything large coming.
Yeah. Well, we know they're not getting Roki Sasaki, it sounds like.
No,
we kind of knew that. We kind of knew that, but the Phillies were hoping to make a presentation, and they got ghosted by Sasaki, just like Yamamoto didn't want to come to Philly. Shohei Ohtani didn't want to come to Philly. Eventually, they're gonna sign somebody. That's been a real tough road for the Phillies. I don't know what it is about Philly that just doesn't entice the Japanese player to come here.
Yeah, I think it's demographics, man. I don't think there's any question about it. I mean, I think that there's a West Coast and a New York vibe that's created is so different for some of the pitchers from Japan and Korea and such. I think there's a comfort being in those spots, because there's other people that have come before them and have had some level of success doing that. And I can understand it. I get it. Yeah. It's a comfort thing.
Ghosted, just like Ruben used to ghost us when he was the GM. We tried to call him up and ask him about something that was cooking.
Ruben did you guys resign Cliff Lee? Ruben, hello?
Hey, does this guy give you flow?
Yeah, exactly.
Medium flow.
Oh, God.
Medium flow. I would keep an eye on it.
Oh my gosh, so funny.
Hey, we do have to talk a little bit about some folks, some things that have happened. One in particular, I think, Mr. Henderson, right, Todd?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, Rickey Henderson passed away, all-time legend, one of my favorite players growing up. Have you guys, man, Ruben, you probably ran across him. Jim, you probably interviewed him several times. I interviewed him once, and I interviewed him once in the clubhouse, visiting clubhouse at Wrigley Field years ago. And I was just getting my writing career started. And I was talking to him way back in the day about the death of the stolen base. This is right during peak Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire times. And I just remember walking out and going, oh, crap, I talked to Rickey Henderson. Like, I remember him stealing 131 bases or whatever it was in 1982 for the A's. So what do you guys remember about Rickey?
Well, I remember he was on second base when Joe Carter hit the home run. And I had a couple interactions with him. One was at Veterans Stadium when he was with the Padres, and it was getaway day. It was like a Wednesday afternoon. They were playing a 1:00 game, and it was like 103 degrees at Veterans Stadium. You could chew the air. It was so hot, and it was like an hour and 15 minutes before the game, and I was in their clubhouse. Like, these were the days you could stay in the clubhouse till an hour before the game. And he got one whiff of the air out there on the field. He didn't want to play. It was too hot for him. And he's Bruce Bochy's the manager. And he is walking around the clubhouse in a pair of gym shorts and a T-shirt. He doesn't even have his uniform on. And he does not want to go out in this heat. And he's going around saying, "Where's Boch? Where's Boch? You tell him Rickey done pulled himself a hammy. He can't play." And he didn't want to play in that weather. The other time, he was finishing up in the independent league, I think, with the Newark Bears on Long Island. And Claire Smith at the Inquirer was our baseball editor. Remember, Todd? Mm-hmm. And she said, I'd like you to go up and do a story on Rickey Henderson. So I drove up to Long Island because he was playing the Long Island Ducks. And I go into the clubhouse, and Rickey doesn't want to talk to me. He's got a million things going on. He's trying to get ready. He's got like a handler with him, like kind of running interference.
Sure.
And I'm trying to convince him to give me 10 minutes. And I said, "Rickey, I come up from Philly, and again, he's in the independent league looking to hang on. I say, I come up from Philly, Rickey, I cover the Phillies. They might be looking for a leadoff man." And he goes, "What do you need?" And we had like a great 10-minute interview. He was a fun player to watch. A great player, man.
Awesome.
So there's so many different Rickey stories, as you all know. Some of them false, some of them true. But this one I actually witnessed with my eyes. First major league spring training camp for me. And I'm in big league camp. I think it was 1990, and I do believe he's with the A's. He's either 90 or 91.
And you're with the Angels.
And I'm with the Angels at the time. And I'm scared poopless because they have on their team, they got Rickey, they got Dave Henderson, they have Carney Lansford, they have Mark McGwire, Canseco. I mean, Tony Phillip. I mean, it's ridiculous. Whatever this lineup was, Steinbach, Walt Weiss. I mean, I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing here?
They were the best. And
so I'm in camp, and I'm watching them take BP because I'm, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and I want to see these guys take BP. And I got to tell you, man, I'm sitting in the bench watching them take BP, and all of a sudden, they get to like their last couple swings in the round of their round. And Rickey Henderson was like the first guy who sort of, for lack of a better word, used to pimp. He was like the first guy at pimped home runs. Like he would do things and make gestures. He was practicing his pimping. So he would hit a home run and he'd step back and pick on himself and then run around to the dugout. And he actually did it a couple of times, man. And they were practicing. He was talking about it. You talk about talking some smack at the batting cage. Dude, that's when it was fun, man. There was a lot of chatter, a lot of crap talking. But that was my very first impression of Rickey Henderson live and watching him take batting practice, man. He was a beauty, and boy, was he fun to watch. Power speed combination at the top of the lineup. And I also wanted to say, God bless to his family and to Jimmy Rollins, who sort of Jimmy Rollins, that was like his idol, really, growing up, because Bay Area guy. Jimmy grew up in the Bay Area. I think it was somebody he sort of wanted to emulate, and had a lot of respect for him. And I shot Jimmy a text about it, but and a tweet or something on an Insta. But my heart goes out to not just the family and all the teams that he touched, but also to Jimmy, because they meant a lot to him.
Well, when Jimmy won the MVP in 2007, his family had a block party in Alameda.
Yes.
And Rickey showed up.
Wow.
Yep.
Remember Jimmy telling me, you right, Todd?
I so remember. I'm so glad you remember that story, because I had a vision in my mind, a story of Rickey Henderson showing up at a family event. I could not remember what it was, but that's exactly what it was. I do remember.
Jimmy's father.
That's awesome.
Rickey grew up in the Oakland area, and he had an old acquaintance with Jimmy's dad. And somebody said, and Rickey, I remember Jimmy telling me about Rickey pulling up, and Jimmy really was impressed with the rims on his Mercedes-Benz.
Styling, always styling.
Yeah. What a fun player to watch, though. I mean, for me, his peak years for me were like my peak years as a young baseball fan. Like the early '80s. Just
what amazed me when he took that lead off of first base. It was a power lead. You could see his quads flexing. And he was at full speed in 2 strides.
Amazing. He was amazing. He was not only like a cat burglar, but he was also an artist. He was an artist. I mean, I really believe that the art of stealing a base and his ability, not only was he explosive, but he sort of reminded me of Saquon Barkley, taking the ball and having the power and the speed and the know-how and the intelligence of being able to play their positions and do their thing.
The one thing I remember that one time I got to speak to him, it was about, again, the lost art of the stolen base. And he basically, the one thing I do remember him saying about it is, I ain't scared of getting thrown out, man. You cannot be scared when you're on first base trying to steal a base, man. If you're scared, you're screwed. He's like,
cat burglar, man.
I ain't scared. I ain't scared of getting thrown out by anybody. I don't care who's behind the plate or what the move is at first base or on the mound, So, Ruben, it is Christmas, Hanukkah on Wednesday, right? And big family time. You had a big little family moment last week. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it? Tell the Phillies show fans about it. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Pretty amazing. My partner's son, Sam Sarver, who played for Indiana University and was a 2-time All-American, was drafted in the MLS Super Draft by none other than FC Dallas.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool. 41st pick. Great moment for the family. Really proud of him. And boy, I hope it's the start of a really wonderful soccer journey. He's been living that soccer life since he's been like 10 or 12 or 8 or whatever it is, and the academy life. And boy, oh boy, it was a proud moment for the family.
That's cool.
Congratulations to Lori.
Congratulations to Lori and you and Sam, of course. I mean, what was the draft? You went out to Cleveland for it, or right?
Yeah, actually, when we had like sort of a little family gathering,
okay.
It's always very nerve-wracking when it's happening. You just don't know. After the draft, I try to explain, you just never know what's going to happen in the draft, but it just takes one scout to really love on you. And when they picked him, I guess one of the quotes they said was, "I can't believe you're still on the board when we were picking." So
that's awesome.
For 41st, I think FC Dallas chose 2 defenders and 1 forward, and he was the forward they got. And boy, he's an exciting player. So we'll see. Hopefully it goes well for him.
I love the video that you posted on social media of him, the FC Dallas calling him and his reaction. He's like, "I'm doing pretty good if I think this is what this phone call is about." It was a great reaction. So that's really neat, man.
Yep.
You know, especially the way the
Thanks,
MLS
yeah.
is kind of blowing up and stuff. That's pretty cool. That's
Really
pretty
cool.
You guys have any big plans for the holidays? What are you guys cooking? I went today. I picked up my prime rib, and that's when the news broke of the Luzardo trade. Cooking
They picked up a prime rib pitcher, and you picked up a prime rib.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So I'm looking forward to the holidays. It's awesome, man.
Nice.
Good to have the family.
What are you doing, Jim?
I'm just gonna hang loose, chill a little bit. Let it all happen.
Well, Judy Emaarion has the 24th every year, so there's going to be about 25 to 30 Emaarion / Perez's / whatever family members. So we'll be singing Christmas carols as we do every year.
That is
might
awesome.
show up.
Come on down.
Crash the
Come on
party.
down to Northeast Philly, pal.
So wanted to mention a couple of things before we let you go. One is, of course, Philly Show has t-shirts now. So if you want a Philly Show t-shirt, I'm sporting one, and they're pretty sweet. Go to thephillyshow.com. You can pick up a Philly Show t-shirt. And it is the holidays. Christmas is Wednesday, but we will be back Thursday morning. Last week, we sat down, well, Zoom-wise, we sat down and had a nice long chat with Billy Wagner, former Phillies closer Billy Wagner. And we had a lot of fun talking with Billy, sharing some great stories, including one of my favorite stories of all time, baseball stories of all time, which includes Billy Wagner and Jim Salisbury. I'll say I don't want to no spoilers, but I was tangentially involved, but yes, I was involved,
and I was on hand,
and Ruben was there as well.
You were the only one that was injured.
Yeah, I was the only one injured in this story. But that's going to be Thursday morning. So when you're taking back the tie that you got from your sister that you don't like, and you're like, oh my God, and you're running errands on the day after Christmas, throw on the Philly Show, listen to us chat with Billy Wagner. That was a lot of fun. So check that out, and then we'll be back, of course, the following week with, I guess, whatever else is going on at the Fighting Phillies. More news, maybe, you never know. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We'll be back Thursday. See you guys.
Happy holidays, guys. Smell you later.
Happy Hanukkah, guys. And Merry Christmas. Smell you.
The Philly Show is brought to you by the Foul Territory Network. Subscribe to The Philly Show on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. If you like us, give us a review. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook, and Threads. Find Ruben's analysis before, during, and after Phillies games on NBC Sports Philadelphia, on the Sports Radio 94 WIP Morning Show, and MLB Network. Find Jim at allphly.com. Find me at MLB.com, the Phillies Beat newsletter, and MLB Network.